Institute of Public Relations of the Australian Army presents War Correspondent. Your name is Mike McCann. You're a war correspondent. For the people of this atomic time who know that peace belongs only to the prepared, you tell these stories of the Australian Army on active service. Your name is Mike McCann, war correspondent.
I'm Mike McCann. It was in April 1941 that the German General Rommel raised the dust along the desert skyline as he sent his Africa Corps and his Italian allies against the glaring white fortress of Tobruk. To face the Axis threat against Greece, Australia's 6th Division was withdrawn from Cyrenaica and transported across the Mediterranean to fight beside the Greeks. The 9th Australian Division took over the desert role, and as the Axis forces pressed closer, Australian soldiers withdrew inside a 30-mile perimeter around Tobruk. It was decided that Tobruk should be held, to deny the use of the port to the Germans and Italians, be used as an Allied base for harassing the enemy, and eventually Tobruk. A pretty picture from the sea with the white buildings standing clear on the escarpment above the blue Mediterranean. But close up, a smoke and dust-grimed place of bombed-out buildings and the harbor fouled by a tangle of twisted and rusted wrecks. It was here, in the last days of March 1941, that Major General L.J. Morshead of the 9th Division took command of the 30-mile perimeter with 23,000 troops to man his fortress. 14,000 were Australians. And for 242 days, they defied the enemy, hitting back at him through the desert dust. As March turned to April, Rommel deployed his forces to take Tobruk, but inside the perimeter, the defenders waited, confident the fortress was theirs.
General Wavell left the area yet, sir?
Yes, Captain. The Commander-in-Chief and General Leverick have called it a day.
What about us, sir?
We stay put. We stay put no matter how hard the Hun tries to shift us.
Rommel won't like having his record broken, sir. He's won every desert battle so far.
He won't be winning the battle for Tobruk. Here we are, and here we stay. General Wavell knew we were not in for a picnic, but we've got to hold on at least a couple of months under siege, keep the Germans and Italians occupied with a mobile defense until relief can be organized for us.
Mobile defense, sir?
Mobile as we can manage within a 30-mile perimeter. Now, let's see, today is the 8th of April. It's estimated we will have 2 days to pull back inside that perimeter outside Tobruk.
Then, sir?
Then we can expect Rommel to give us everything he has. Aircraft, tanks, and his crack infantry. We won't want to waste any time digging in, Captain. Rommel might give us 2 days. He'll probably do some probing. But after that, well, you know his technique.
Yes, dive bombing first, sir. Then the tanks and his troops coming in right behind them.
So we'll have to be ready to fight on the enemy's conditions.
Not quite, if I may say so, sir. Our 9th Divvy boys aren't keen about Rommel coming.
Oh?
No, sir. They'd rather go out and meet him. They're ready for a fight any time he is. And I'm tipping the Germans are going to get a surprise when they reach our perimeter.
I have a feeling you're right. In fact, I must admit I'm awaiting these Rommel offensives with a great deal of interest. I have an idea that the Desert Fox might find his run of luck is changing.
So, after the visit to the Tobruk area by General Wavell and General Leverick on April the 8th, 1941, the Allied forces there, including the Australians, began slowly moving back towards the perimeter while the German columns raced in towards the shrinking fortress area. In his mobile staff headquarters, General Rommel drew up a plan for the speedy reduction of the fortress of Tobruk. The plan was for one of his powerful, hard-hitting attacks to blast through the defenses, overrun the defenders, and seize the vital harbor of Tobruk. As his mobile columns approached Australian lines, he was polishing up his plan for battle, which was to be known later as the Easter Battle.
Makes me homesick, Ted.
This country? Oh, you couldn't run a black snake on 100 acres of this country, Curly. Barren country, far as you can see. Rock, dust, and no water. And you say it makes you homesick. Where do you come from anyway, Curly?
Southern Cross.
Southern Cross? Never heard of it. Not in New South Wales, is it?
Nope.
Thought it wasn't. I reckon I know every place in New South Wales. No country crook as this in New South Wales. Should see my old man's place at Dapto. That's on the south coast. Green feed stands higher than your head. Southern Cross? No. Where is it, Curly?
Another ball plain.
Oh, that's the real desert country, isn't it?
Yeah. Not quite as bad as this.
Never see dust at Dapto.
Dapto.
Best dairy country in Australia, Curly. Right on the coast, like we are here. Oh, but it's green there. Cool sea breezes. Mountains there too, and waterfalls. Tell you what, they'll have to bulldoze me out if I ever get back there. Never shift again.
A bit easier digging there than here, eh, Ted?
Easier? Why, you've only got to let the shovel drop and you've got a hole big enough to swallow a bull. Not like this rubbish. They reckon Rommel's going to bump us sometime today. That's what General Waver was here for yesterday. I'd like to know what they were talking about up there in headquarters.
You mean down there?
Yeah, that's right, Curly. Down there, underground in headquarters. Like to have heard them.
So would I, if they'd been talking about increasing the beer ration.
You can say goodbye to beer for a while, I'd say. Those stookers are making it too hot down in the harbour, dropping 1,000-pounders on everything that moves. We've got no fighters to stop them, only ack-ack. They're going to starve us right out if they keep the sinkings up.
Always the night time.
That's the truth. But when you work it out, they're going to need all the night shipping they can get to transport our wounded and sick out and get ammo in. No, I'd say beer's going to be in short supply.
Unless the Germans bring some.
Yeah, reckon we ought to do a bit more on these shovels. Looks like this here perimeter might be a mighty hot spot. Reckon we ought to go down a bit deeper?
I might get us out of the dust anyway.
Yeah, my turn with a pick. Now, if we were at Dapto, we'd finish this trench in about 5 minutes. Oh, we're down another foot. Reckon that's deep enough, Curly? What's the matter? What are you looking at?
Don't know yet. Come here.
What do you see? Too much dust to see anything out there. It's thicker than ever.
Sure. Especially out there past the wire.
Hey, you're right. There's something out there. The dust's thicker. What do you reckon? Germans? Maybe we better call up company headquarters on the phone and let them know. Might be German tanks.
Maybe. I know they're not emus. Keep down.
I can see now, Curly. They're headed this way. Looks like an armoured car. Another one with a troop carrier. Not going fast. Better call up company, eh? You there, Charlie?
Give 'em a buzz first, Ted.
Huh? Oh, yeah. Charlie? 1-3. What's the code for enemy sighted, Curly?
Armour.
Oh, yeah. Armour. Oh. Looks crook, doesn't it? Yeah. Okay. Well, if we don't call back, come and put a tombstone over this trench. They've got reports from all over the place. Germans having a look at the perimeter. Another thing they told me is that the Germans went into Greece and Yugoslavia late yesterday. That means the 6th Divvy will be in action. Oh, yeah, and they're shifting all the wounded out of Tobruk. Don't like the sound of that, do you?
What do they want us to do here?
Hold our fire until the Germans come close, and then drive them back.
That's clear enough anyway.
Drive them back with what? 2 Brin guns? I must reckon these are some of those cardboard tanks they said the Nazis had. What's that? Look at Tobruk. Oh, they're giving Tobruk a pasty. Dive bombers like flies around a dead cow. I'm glad I'm not in that.
Have a look ahead of us, Ted.
Heading straight for us.
Keep down, Ted. They're only fairly out of fences.
Looks to me they're going to feel mighty close. Too close for my liking. Let's give them a burst so they know we're here.
Hold it. They're just trying to draw us.
How much closer? Look at that gun on the armoured car. It's a 2-pounder. Blow us right out of this hole.
Don't panic. Let them get close before we say hello.
There's a dozen Germans on that troop carrier, Curly. Can't see how many in the armoured job. Setting up like Jackie, those Jerrys. 200 yards, Curly. What about it?
No, not yet.
They're coming right up to the wire. Do you reckon they'll know we're here?
No, when they get to the wire, they'll know we're here, because then we'll get stuck into them.
Stuck into them?
Sure. As soon as they get to the wire, we'll give them the breath. Then when they're scattered, we'll make a dive for the fence and give them a couple of grenades. Can't let them through the wire. You ready?
Don't know who's going to get the shock. Yeah, I'm right.
Then let's give it to them.
That's giving them something to think about. Look at them scattered.
Come on, out of the trench and toss a couple of grenades into them. Put them down, get down. Come back!
They've all gone down.
Back into the trench.
That's too close for comfort.
Get your sights onto those Germans out there past the wire. They're getting out. Come on, help them on their way.
There they go. And here comes that fighter back. Keep down. I reckon we'll dig down another couple of feet. Maybe we'll get some attention around here.
Hasn't started yet. They're only feeling us out.
I've got a feeling that's the truth, Curly. Hand me that shovel.
Thus, Rommel began his probing of the defences of Tobruk. Savagely, Stuka dive bombers attacked the town on April 9, and flying low, fighters machine-gunned all positions, including divisional headquarters in Tobruk. The air attacks were also heavy on the defence points dug in behind the wire on the perimeter. And at the same time, armoured vehicles and German troops moved closer to the wire, drawing fire and testing strength. Feverishly, the Australians dug in, using natural terrain to make their positions more secure. And for once, they were to thank the desert dust storms that laid a curtain of fine dust to cover most of their movements. As they dug, there was a hurried evacuation of wounded, so as to clear the hospitals for the test to come. And many of the 25,000 Axis prisoners were also evacuated, so the strain of supplying the besieged fortress might be lessened. And as these preparations were underway, every soldier in the area kept one eye towards the perimeter, beyond which they knew they'd see the enemy approach. The probing advances had been beaten back along the whole perimeter, but nobody within the fortress had any doubt that Rommel would deliver a serious thrust, and soon. And so, in their narrow trenches, dug deep into the arid ground, the Australians watched across the wire. A long anti-tank trench guarded the approach. and improvised Molotov cocktails stood ready on shelves carved into the yellow earth. Captured enemy guns stood trained. April the 9th passed without any serious enemy attempt to breach the defenses. Next day, the enemy skirmished in the distance, but it was not until late in the afternoon that the Germans showed what kind of battle this was to be.
Never knew him to come this low over to Brook before, Curly. See the AK, get that one.
What are they concentrating over there for? That's where the hospital is.
Yeah, the bakery's there too, and a water point. Probably a lot of vehicles there just behind the 2nd, 4th AGH. There goes the stick now. Oh, must be mighty close to the hospital. Tell you what, looks to me like they're dive bombing that hospital.
It's got red crosses on it.
Well, that's the truth too. But from where I am, it looks like those bombs are going right down onto the hospital area. And now they're diving onto those hospital tents by the beach. Red crosses there too, Curly. Pity we didn't have fighter support here to keep those stinking Stukas away. Bombing and machine gunning the sick and wounded, the swine.
Keep down! No good shaking your fist at them, Ted.
A joker would leave his brin over with his clothes. Can't get across there, they're machine gunning all the open places. Looks like Rommel's started to be fair dinkum.
Could be. Best we get out to our position as soon as this raid's over.
As soon as it's dawn, that wind starts up, Curly. You'd think it'd knock off for Good Friday.
Good Friday, eh?
That's the truth. Good Friday, April the 11th, 1941. And all's quiet on the Tobruk front. Hope we don't see another raid like that one yesterday. The Germans killed 35 patients and staff in the 2nd, 4th AGH. Those red crosses were plain enough. Reckon Rommel wants Tobruk all right and doesn't care how he gets it.
He was hitting at the sick and wounded yesterday. Be different when he strikes us. We're fit, and we've got something to hit back with.
I wish he'd get on with it. Don't like this sitting around much. Particularly in such a lovely position as this neck of the woods. All of which I wouldn't trade for 1 square foot of the worst soil in Dapta.
But Rommel wants it. He wants the road that leads in from Bardia.
That's the truth. He wants it all right. He reckons it'll lead him straight into Tobruk. And he could be wrong at that. The good old 2nd 17th's lined up against him there, plus 4 other Australian battalions. Maybe he might get a shock. Hey, there's Eddie across there.
Eddie? Eddie who?
Edmondson, the 2-striper. Corporal Edmondson, you know him, that brown-haired joker over there in the next trench. Another New South Wales bloke he is.
So what? He going to stop the Germans on his Pat Malone?
No, I'm not saying that. Eddie's a quiet bloke, sometimes. But he'll have a go. That's all I'm saying. 5 Australian infantry battalions lined up behind the wire. That's not going to give Rommel any walkover. Hello? No, sir. Yes, sir.
Short and sweet.
Short. Company headquarters. The Germans are on the move. Asked us whether we'd sighted them yet. I told them no. They said they're moving towards this area.
So what? We've been at first-degree alert since last night. What are you looking back there for? That's only Bardia Bill. That gun's been firing ever since we got here. He's about 10 miles away. The ones we're going to worry about are the ones that get close up.
It must be getting closer now. The battle, I mean. You're starting to talk. That's too close for comfort.
Didn't stop you talking, though.
No, I was just remarking... here he comes again. Just remarking about you. I'll tell you later. Look across there on the horizon.
Thanks.
No good keeping our heads down for those dive bombers. Next thing we'll be looking up at the treads of a German tank. Come on, next one that comes down we'll have a go at. Here comes one. Don't have long to wait, do we? Bet my deferred pay that I put the whole magazine into that fighter as he went past. Hey, get onto him. He's been hit. I got him. Look at him going down. Get Get onto him, will you, Curly? In he goes. I got him, Curly. You saw it, didn't you?
Yeah, I saw it. I saw about 28 net guns on him. And every other slit piece around this area opened up on him too. You got him all right. You and about 10,000 other fellas.
But I saw my rounds going into him and then...
Try this one for size.
Got that one too.
Except he's still flying.
But he'll go down. Here comes another. Reckon I got him too. The old friend Smokey. Reckon they can't get at us in these trenches.
Maybe not. It could be they've done what they wanted to do.
What's that?
Look across there. They've kept our heads down while the Germans have pulled those field guns into position. See them winking at us?
German guns and planes. Oh, what a way to spend Good Friday.
Be all right if it stayed like this. Something tells me Easter hasn't really started yet.
I feel softened up enough. 24 hours now they've been shelling, dive bombing us. April the 12th. When did we move out here, Curly?
The 9th. 3 days ago. 3 days now they've been... needling us. Won't be long now.
You've been saying that for the past 24 hours. And the Germans keep moving in the dust out of range, shelling us.
Oh, he's moving up all the time. He's across the Bardia Road, and by the way his traffic's been moving along the skyline today, I'd say he's getting ready for the showdown tonight.
Ah, so it's tonight now. This time yesterday, it was last night.
And now I say it'll be on tonight. Could be wrong, of course, but I got a feeling I'll be right. Be dark in half an hour, and then you'll know.
Oh, sure. Can hardly wait. For my money, I'd say Rommel is going to give Tobruk the go-by. Leave us die here peacefully of old age.
Die of old age, eh?
Stop talking and keep firing. There's a bunch of Germans and Idi's got through the wire there, across to the left. Seen them by the light of that truck burning there.
I see him, but we got our own front to watch. Here they come again. That's giving them something for their corner.
Curly, those Germans and Idi's across to the left there. They're going to be mighty dangerous. They've got 2 guns in with them and some mortars. They could open a way for a complete breakthrough.
You're right, but we've got enough trouble on our own front. There goes that mate of yours. What's his name? Eddie.
Corporal Edmondson. Yeah, he's going to have a crack at them with some of his mates. Come on, let's keep those Germans down by the fence. The Germans have got those guns into action, Curly. And the mortars. Oh, this could be really crook.
Except your mate Edmondson's going to have a go at them. Get on the right head. Get right under it, will you? Edmondson and his mates are getting up within grenade distance. They're throwing grenades now. And they're under fire. Oh, boy, look at those Germans go down. And Edmonds and his mates are up at them. Give them the bayonet. Ted, look at them go.
Oh, they'll never make it in the face of that fire, Curly. Never.
Edmondson's down. He's up again. He's up again. They're still going. Oh, look at them mixing with those Germans.
Eddie's wounded badly, Curly.
I can see that. I can see it. But he's still getting stuck into them. The Germans have had enough. Edmondson's team has cleaned them up, Ted. Stop the rot. Oh, what a mighty show, Ted. What a mighty show.
That's what I was saying the other day, Curly. If Rommel's meeting jokers here, he'll have a go. Up to date, he's doing pretty well. But his luck might have changed.
Yes, as Ted said, it was men like Corporal Edmondson, blokes who'd have a go, that stopped Rommel's winning run. His troops, with their tanks and aircraft support, suffered their first reversal in 20 months of war when they tried to breach the defenses manned by Australians on the perimeter of Tobruk in that Easter Battle of 1941. 17 German tanks were destroyed, 12 enemy planes shot down, and the enemy withdrew after 3 days of bitter fighting, leaving 110 of his soldiers dead within the perimeter and 254 prisoners. The Tobruk garrison suffered only 92 casualties, and at least one of those casualties made the whole of Australia mourn. Yes, Corporal Edmondson had a go, but he died of wounds before he knew that his magnificent effort had won him the Victoria Cross. The citation for this posthumous award reads, "On the night of 13-14 April 1941, a party of German infantry broke through the wire defenses of Tobruk and established themselves with at least 6 machine guns, mortars, and 2 field pieces. It was detailed to attack them with bayonets, and a party consisting of 1 officer, Corporal Edmondson, and 5 privates took part in the charge. During the counterattack, Corporal Edmondson was wounded in the neck and stomach, but continued to advance under heavy fire and killed 1 enemy with the bayonet." The citation continues, "Corporal Edmondson's actions throughout the operations were outstanding for resolution, leadership, and conspicuous bravery. He was the first Australian to be so decorated in World War II.
War Correspondent, recorded by Robert Peach Productions, is presented for your entertainment by the Australian Army's Directorate of Public Relations. The Directorate of Public Relations of the Australian Army presents War Correspondent. Your name is Mike McCann. You're a war correspondent. For the people of this atomic time who know that peace belongs only to the prepared, you tell these stories of the Australian Army on active service. Your name is Mike McCann, war correspondent.
I'm Mike McCann. There were very few Australians on the home front in the grim days of 1942 who knew of the hit-run war, the guerrilla campaign being fought without quarter on the island of Timor off the northwest coast of Australia. And yet, ranging over the mountain peaks on Timor were well-trained and well-organized Australian fighters of our independent companies, who so worried the Japanese High Command that the crack 48th Japanese Division was sent there to add 15,000 reinforcements to the 6,000 Japanese landed to garrison Timor. With the exceptions of the Australians in Papua, who were pushed back nearly to Port Moresby, but never pushed into the sea, those Australian commando-type fighters on Timor were the only troops southeast of India who never surrendered to the Japanese, and who continued to harry and destroy the Japanese invaders until ordered to evacuate. For 13 months, the Australian 2nd Secondary from other units killed about 1,500 Japanese in guerrilla operations for the loss of 40 men. They operated on mountain flanks, ambushing the enemy, making swift and deadly raids, and continually sniping. They kept on the move as the Japanese hunted them here and hunted them there. They used loyal natives in their operations and were supported by airdrops from Darwin and by seaborne supplies. To the Japanese, they became a legendary will-o'-the-wisp force. And the story I'm about to tell you here is of one of the many clashes the guerrillas had with the Japanese. The Australians came to know it as the Battle of Glano River.
Hey, Bert, come across here and get a load of this. Wow, that's it's really a sight, isn't it?
25 of them. I counted them.
There's no need to whisper. They won't hear us. And so they're a good 3 miles off. We'd be 3,000 feet above sea level.
Oh, yeah. It's just a picture they make. 25 warships. Like models on a blue tablecloth. Battleships. 1, 2, 3, 4 aircraft carriers. Quite a fleet, eh, Bert?
Depends whose it is. If they're Yank warships, they're certainly a sight. If they're Japs, well, I hope they sink. Yeah, there's nothing we can do about them anyway.
No. Just watch them steam past the Timor coast. Destroyers keep good formation. 3 arrowheads of them. I wish we could do
Wishing isn't going to get any Japs killed. Come on now, back to our posse over the road. We're after a Jap road convoy, not a fleet of warships.
Yeah. But it's funny just to think that out there, everything is spit and polish. Brass shined up, engines working smooth as silk, thousands of men aboard. I bet not one of them had guessed that up here in these mountains there's a band of Aussies, beards and all, spread out in the bush above a road, waiting for a Jap convoy to come along and be done over.
Come out of your trance. We got a job to do. Come on. Now, here's the posse. Yeah, as we make ourselves comfortable till they come along. This is a sweet setup. The first truck runs over the booby trap down there in the center of the road. The rest of the Jap trucks jam up in the cutting behind when we blow the leading vehicle. And we pour it into the Japs. Do them over like a crumb cutlet.
That's provided there aren't too many trucks.
Yeah, there'll be the usual 4. We can cover them all from here.
Yeah. She looks all right lined up through the sights. One magazine should do it.
And keep your grenades handy. As soon as the leading truck goes up, we'll knock off the drivers in each of the other trucks. Ben sling in a few grenades. Now, you remember the drill? I take the 2 first trucks, and you take the 2 at the end of the convoy.
Yeah. I suppose there's Japs driving along this road now, talking about their girlfriends back in Japan, or about how sake's hard to get, or something like that, eh? Not imagining for a moment what's waiting for them along the track.
Don't kid yourself. The Japs are right on their toes. They know we're around these parts, and they know the Japs they find dead along the track didn't die from old age. Hey, shh! Listen.
I can't hear anything.
Keep quiet, you will. You hear it now?
Yeah. Yeah, it's the convoy.
Okay, get set. As soon as that first truck hits that landmine, open up.
Sounds like a lot.
We'll soon see. Here comes the first one round the bend. Any time now. Any time. It's passed over the landmine. It didn't explode. Ah, what?
There goes the second. And the third.
Ah, hell. We'll get this last one anyway. We'll whack him up amongst us. One Jap truck less anyway.
Better get out. The others might come back.
Yeah, not them. I'm going down to get that booby trap, see what's wrong with it. We don't want that happening again. You keep me covered while I dig it out. Then we'll get back to headquarters. Cripes, my ears are starting to burn already. So that's the way it was, sir. The firing mechanism in the landmine went on the blink, and the ambush was a blue duck. We got the 3 Japs in the last truck and burnt the vehicle.
Might have been better to let them all go through when the mine failed. However, that's a lesson learned. Now, there's another job on, and I want you 2 chaps in on it. The natives have told us that the Japanese are being reinforced in Dili, and they're moving out along the roads to the west. And you know what that means.
Moving closer to us, sir.
Not close enough to be a menace, but we don't want to shift our headquarters just yet. So I think we might try to change Nippon's mind. If the Japs are coming up the road towards our area, then I think we should go and meet them. If we can hit them from the north of the road, we're going to confuse them about our whereabouts, and they're likely then to go off on another track. We'll take Brens and Tommy guns, and here's what we'll do.
It's about the place, the Major said.
Dark enough to be anywhere. All I can see are the hill ridges on either side of us.
Yeah, that's right. He said to stay in the bottom of the valley near that Portuguese house. And that looks like the house he meant up ahead of us.
Yeah. Where's the road, then?
You can't see it in the dark, but if we're in the right place, the road's running around that hill flank above us.
That means the Japs will have the drop on us if they get on that road and us down here in the valley.
Could be. On the other hand, you could catch your death of cold sleeping out here in the open. Relax, Norm. There's no Japs up there. Hey, what's that?
Trucks coming. They'll be Jap trucks. There they are. See their headlights? They're stopping.
We're in the right place, all right. That's the road above us. Yeah, better get some sleep.
They've stopped up there, Bert.
Fine. We know where they are, but they don't know we're here. Remember what the Major said. We'll take them on in the morning. How did you sleep, Norm?
With one eye open.
It wasn't the way I saw you. Both eyes closed and snoring. Japs are up and about, too. Got their fires going for the rice. Half their luck. Coal rations for us. And we got a rendezvous with the boys. That looks like the ridge we got to climb to, and that one up there above the road. See it? A bare one.
Yeah, that's it, all right. Bare as a badger it is, too.
But overlooks the road where those Japs are. Good timing, eh? Now, we better get moving before the Japs decide to move off and spoil our fun. Nearly there, mate.
About time, too. I don't fancy this climbing on a cold breakfast.
Never mind. Major's got something hot and tasty on the menu. Yeah, there he is, further along the ridge. He's seen us. He's waving us down. Come on. Let's give the boots a rest. There's a bit of shelter behind these trees.
There's not too much cover up here, Bert.
Yeah, there's enough. They can't see us, but we can see them. Yeah, look at them down there. Get your binoculars onto them. We want to see which way they're moving.
Yeah. I got the glasses, I don't.
Well, now take the glasses away and you'll see them more clearly. They're dinkum. These binoculars are fogged up so much in this climate that they're worse than useless.
Well, they certainly weren't built for heat and humidity. I got mine properly focused now. Yeah, they're infantry, Jap infantry from Delhi. A couple of the old units are there, and there are some new ones, too. The new ones have got the mortars.
All I can make out is that the trucks are Toyota. Must be getting more transport onto the island now. I can see better without the glasses. Hey, what's going on here?
Struth, we're quite a native army. 50 or 60 of the natives from that village back behind the ridge have come up to give us a hand. And plenty of spears and bows and arrows among them. Shh, boys. Noise, no. Japan here.
You speak the language like a native. Give them a sign to sit down.
That's what I'm doing, but they keep crowding up behind us. The Japs are a moral certainty to spot us with all these warriors lined up behind us on the ridge. Keep down, you chocolate soldiers. That's right. Just sit quietly and watch the little yellow men down there. Be careful where you point those spears. Yeah, Jake, now, Bert. They'll sit quiet.
Not for long, though. You see what I see?
Japs are lining up along the road. How many do you make it?
Rough check, say 150 of them.
Yeah, that's about it. There's an officer giving him a pep talk.
You'll note he's pointing his sword in our direction.
He is, too. They're onto us, Bert.
Blind if they weren't. An officer's giving him the battle plan. Look, he's divided them into two parties.
This is going to be interesting. Pity we can't stay and watch.
We can watch for a while, anyway. Look, half of them are headed straight up the hill. They're making for us, keeping behind cover. Dear, oh dear, they're getting nasty. Rigging up a mortar. Here, hold on to your hat.
Watch these natives scatter when the first one lands. Hey, where's the other party going?
That's the question we'd like answered. Just at the moment, I'm interested in these Japs with a mortar. Not even close. And our native army's still with us, Norm?
Yeah. They won't move until we do. I guess we can't lose face by moving. Looks like we're stuck on this ridge.
The Australian guerrillas faced this attack as they'd faced many in the past. and coolly they watched from their vantage point on the ridge to see the effect of the Japanese plan. The country was too steep and irregular for effective mortar fire, and so, moving onto a nearby ridge where the timber and scrub cover was better, the Australians and the native warriors who had joined them uninvited took up positions to watch and to wait. Most of the mortar bombs were landing beyond the narrow ridge on which the Australians lay, so there was no great fear of casualties from the bombardment. But our men knew that the Japanese were moving around between their mountain position and the guerrilla headquarters, and that could place the Australians in a serious plight. However, not knowing where the other half of the Japanese force had deployed to, the guerrillas stayed on the ridge until dusk fell, and the Jap force that had been mortaring them closed down for the night, and the Australians, too, slept.
Rise and shine, Norm.
What?
A new day. New sensations to be enjoyed.
The only sensation I have when you shake me like that is of deep hate, like a lie.
Save it for the Japs, of whom at this moment I can see plenty.
What are they doing?
Stuffing themselves with rice, in preparation, no doubt, for a determined attempt to cut short our young lives. Oh, here comes the Major.
Morning, chaps. Sleep well?
The Japs didn't disturb us anyway, sir.
No, but they soon will. It's obvious they're going to start bright and early to move up onto this ridge. The other half of their force is distributed around the road to give us the chop as we move down, but I think we can upset their calculations. Some of them moved onto that nearby spur during the night, so we'll move quietly down until we're above the road, and instead of them ambushing us somewhere along the track, we'll do the same for them. The natives have told us that the Japanese are reconstructing that crossing over the Glano River, the one we blew the other day. Other Japanese are looting native huts in the Glano River area, so we can expect some enemy traffic along the road. Well, let's get cracking before the nips move.
Right, sir.
Sounds a complicated affair to me.
Nothing complicated about it. The Japs are patrolling the road below this ridge, so we can't escape when their mates come up and drive us off the ridge.
Yeah?
Only thing is, we don't wait to be driven off. We move off now and creep down to the road and do over any Japs we find there. Simple, isn't it?
Yeah, provided it works out like that.
There's only one way to find out. Come on, let's do as the Major says. Get glasses onto the ridge we left, Norm. See anything up there yet?
I'm having a look. Yeah, plenty of them, too. They're spread out along the ridge, right along it. What about these ones we're supposed to see coming along this road? We've been here for hours. Not a Jap have we seen.
We'll see, son. Don't you worry about that. Too many around this neck of the woods at present for us to miss. Just be patient. You wait till those native boys give us a high sign that the Japs are on their way.
Are you sure those native boys were clear about what we wanted?
Sure, they were clear. As soon as they see a Jap, they give us the drum in time to slip into our ambush positions.
I hope you're right. Hey, here comes one now at full belt down the road.
Japan, Japan!
They understood all right. Look, the Japs are right on his hammer.
Come on, get out of this. Oh, brother, was that too close?
Plenty of warning.
Don't rub it in, mate. So we didn't get any warning. So the ambush was a schmozzle. So, as the Major'd say, we'll learn another lesson. In the future, we don't rely on all native scouts. I'll tell you something. By the time we've finished in Timor, we'll know more about guerrilla fighting than those instructors we had back in Aussie ever heard of.
Well, chaps, that's another lesson learned. Now, we haven't had much luck so far in this action, but our luck must change soon. We must hit the enemy before he moves out of this valley, and here's what I propose. The Japanese must go out of the valley by road, and it appears to me they must use the road through the Glano River crossing. So that's where we'll take up an ambush position, and this time we'll see if luck is with us. All right. Make your way to this point marked here as ambush position on the map. It overlooks the crossing and should give us a good field of fire onto any Japanese moving into the area.
Look Looks like we're out of that luck the Major hoped we'd have. No Japs.
Yeah. They might have pulled out before we reached here. Hey, someone's coming down the road. You set?
Sure. Relax. It's one of our blokes. One of our sappers bringing ammunition along on a pony. Hey, 4 hours we wait here. And all we see is one of our own blokes strolling along, happy as a lark, leading a pony.
Yeah.
What a way to fight a war.
No, look. A Jap. Yeah, he's walking down onto the road now. Bloke doesn't know he's there. I can't fire. I'll hit our bloke. He's seen him.
Yeah, and the Jap's seen him. They both dive for cover. No, the Jap's running.
Let him keep coming and I'll drop him.
Our bloke beat you to it. Dropped him on the wing. Oh, he has it. That Jap's got some mates. Look at him coming down from the scrub.
Hold your fire. Our bloke's got his bren rigged. He can take care of this.
Yeah, you're right. He's bowled some of them over. And the others are making off down the road. Ooh, nice shooting. A couple more Indians bit the dust.
Listen. There's a truck coming up the road behind him. Let's get down and back him up.
No, we'd be too late. There it is. But he's onto it.
You can say that again. He's giving it to him from the hip. Over she goes!
Right over the embankment. And now we better get right off that road.
He's going.
And we might do the same, too. If there are any Japs around, they'll be flocking up here with their tongues out. Any minute from now, this is going to be the unhealthiest place on Timor.
You don't have to be Einstein to work that out. Come on, let's get away from the road. Didn't take him long to... Hey! A Jap walked right out of the scrub. I just managed to squeeze one off the hip. It was him or me, and he got the bigger surprise.
Wait a sec. Have a boat peep through those bushes and see who's due for a surprise.
Japs everywhere. We've run right into the main body of them, mate. Well, let's get some of them anyway.
They don't know where we are yet, Bert.
They will any time now, though.
Looks like tough luck for us, then.
Now, let's move and talk later.
Have a look behind you. The only way we can get out now is up a wall. No, we can't get out. The only thing to do is shoot it out.
There are too many, Norm. We've knocked over half a dozen. If we keep on firing, they must locate us. The only thing we can do is to keep under this cover here and lie quiet. I reckon we've gone.
If the Japs walk across here, we're done.
Yeah, that's right. But we got to take the chance. We lie in this bit of a ditch, and those bushes should keep us hidden.
Wait till I have a gig through the bushes. No, they're not looking over this way. The bush all around them, it looks like they've no idea where we were firing from. Maybe they think we've pulled out now.
Yeah, that's our only chance.
Hey, Bert.
Yeah?
Get your bren ready. There's 2 Japs walking across this way.
Are they onto us?
I don't know. Oh, it doesn't look like it. Oh, does it? They're carrying their rifles at the ready.
Okay. I've got the bren cocked.
Good. Don't use it until we see just what they're up to. Still coming.
Yeah, I see him now.
That to happen again.
Yeah, I could have sworn they were both looking through the bushes right at us. Where are they now?
They're moving around the bush. Apparently checking over the perimeter.
They're not going to camp here.
That's how it's shaping. Looks to me like they're going to set up their company headquarters here. Officers strutting around with swords on their belts. Couple of field phones in. Yeah, I'd say that's what it is, a company headquarters.
What a place to pick to go to ground in. Beside a Jap headquarters. This is going to be lovely.
Yeah. And nothing we can do but sweat it out.
How long have we been here now, Norman?
12 hours.
A sign of them shifting yet?
Not a peep. Last time I looked, I could have sworn they'd settled in here for the duration. Hey, Bert. The birds have flown. The Japs have moved out.
You sure?
Certain. That clearing is as clean as a whistle.
Shh. What's that noise?
Australia! Australia!
Australia, boys! Put down your spears!
Oh, well, that's right. If I hadn't noticed those native boys, then we'd have each had a spear in the back. Will you look at them grinning? Great joke for them, eh?
Yeah. I'm having hysterics myself.
Looks like they thought we were wounded Japs and they've come in to give us the treatment. Come on. The sooner we get back to the rest of the boys, the happier I'll feel.
It goes for me, too. I've had enough solitude in the last 12 hours to last me a lifetime. You know, Norm, I'm almost enjoying lying here under these Jap shells. It's a pleasant change after that spell down there by the Japs.
Yeah, I know how you feel. There's such a thing as carrying this guerrilla warfare too far. I'm quite content to be lying here with that Jap moving into my sights. See what I mean? Down he goes. The way we're bowling him over now, that change of luck has arrived. And about time.
These Australian guerrillas remained on the ridges around that valley above the Glano River until the Japanese gave up the attempt to penetrate further into the territory. 40 Japanese were killed there by our men with no loss to themselves. Unorthodox fighting it may have been, but effective. It was warfare on a small scale in Timor that tied up close to 30,000 enemy troops at a time when the Japanese needed them badly.
War Correspondent, recorded by Robert Peach Productions, is presented for your entertainment by the Australian Army's Directorate of Public Relations. The Directorate of Public Relations of the Australian Army presents War Correspondent. Your name is Mike McCann. You're a war correspondent. For the people of this atomic time who know that peace belongs only to the prepared, you tell these stories of the Australian Army on active service. Your name is Mike McCann, war correspondent.
I'm Mike McCann. Jungle warfare was probably more a matter for the skill and courage, resourcefulness and determination of the individual soldier than any other type of warfare. In the jungle, a soldier was always so much closer to the enemy and yet so far away from his own base. But in November 1943, an Australian fighter new to the jungle arrived for the first time in New Guinea and there struck terror into the Japanese and devastated his fortifications and communications. The newcomer was the Australian Matilda tank, and it first entered the fighting in New Guinea at the opening of the battle for Saddleburg, a small New Guinea village on a 3,300-foot plateau 9 miles from the Song River. After losing Finschhafen, the Japanese had retreated inland, numbering close on 13,000 fanatical troops. And at Saddleburg, the enemy reformed his ranks. On October the 16th, he began a counterattack by air, sea, and land to recapture Finschhafen. And after losing 1,000 dead, the Japanese retreated back toward Saddleburg, and the 9th Division, which had thrown back the counterattack, prepared to keep rolling the enemy back. But the story of the attack on Saddleburg began long before that 6th day of November 1943, when 9th Division units placed themselves astride the road leading to Saddleburg. It began at the end of an assembly line somewhere in Australia.
Forward another foot. Easy now. That'll do it. That's the 9th. The 9th Matilda tank. Have you chalked it okay for dispatch?
Just doing it now. Here, I'll write a bit of a message on it. What'll I say?
Oh, I don't know. Hold on. My young brother's in the 9th Divvy. Young Ted was there at LMA. Not too sure where he is now, except he's somewhere in New Guinea. I was telling him about the Matildas when he came home from the Middle East. He reckoned then they wouldn't do much good in the jungle.
Oh, the Yanks have been using them.
That's right, but they haven't been in the kind of country our fellows are getting into, the Dakota Trail kind of stuff.
Your brother wasn't in that.
Too true he wasn't. His battalion is the 2nd 48. It was fighting in the desert at Tel Eliza, Alamein, places like that. He was chasing the Germans and the Italians across the desert with a bayonet. Here, I'll tell you what to write on it. I'm the 9th Matilda on the delivery line. Will someone please make sure I go to the 9th Division? And put a big question mark.
Sounds kind of silly. Oh, well, he'll chalk her on.
Yeah, they're Matildas. My brother works at the place they assemble them at. I used to say to him they'd never be any good in the jungle, but I'll tell you something. I'm mighty glad to see him coming up that track right now. How many gone past so far?
7 or 8. There's more coming.
And they can keep him coming for mine. This Saddleberg dude's not going to be an easy cop. But I haven't stuck an easy one yet. The old 2nd 48 seems to draw the dirty ones. Like we did in the Middle East.
These tanks should make her a bit easier. They'll give the nip the shock of his life.
Maybe.
They're going to be shoved in as a surprise when we start moving in on Saddleberg, aren't they?
Oh, that's the way the brass plans. But it doesn't always happen that way. Now, in the Middle East...
Oh, but that's why our blokes are sneaking them up this road. So they'll surprise the Japs when we start moving. That's why the artillery is turning on such a hell of a lot of noise. So the nips won't hear the tanks moving. That's the way it is, isn't it?
That's the way the brass wants it to happen. But you've got to remember that the Japanese have got observation points overlooking this track towards Saddleberg.
I'm remembering that. But the officers told us that the tanks would be moved at night across those sections of the tracks, so the nips wouldn't wake up to what was going on.
Yeah, doesn't always work out the way they reckon it will. I remember back in the desert, just before El Alamo.
Well, I reckon these tanks will give the nip butterfly. And when he sees them coming at him through the kunai. I'm glad I won't be on the receiving end of them anyway.
Tanks? You haven't even seen tanks yet. You should have seen them at Alamein. They were sprinkled across the desert like hundreds and thousands. Big...
Here we go again. The old desert warrior. Well, what about changing the record?
I don't need to change any record, mate. You blokes who come into the battalion after we come back from the Middle East haven't seen a real blue yet.
Oh, this other stuff hasn't been for keeps. The Japs have been firing blanks at us all the time.
No, don't get your tonsils in a knot. I'm just saying you haven't seen the real McCoy yet. A big show like Alamein. Hey, look, see that jacket down there? Walking across the track between those tanks now?
Yeah.
You know who that is?
Sure I know him. Diver Derrick.
Sergeant Thomas Curry Derrick of Adelaide, B Company, 48th Australian Infantry Battalion, DCM. So he is. Here, come across here to this clear patch. Got a match? You may as well give us a roll, too. Yeah, thanks. Now, this is the Med Coast, the Mediterranean. Get me?
Yeah, give us back my makings. I may as well have one, too. I tell you, Ted, you'll end up as patron of the MEMUS.
Huh?
Yeah, MEMUS. Stands for Middle East Mutual Admiration Society.
Yeah, I'll be a member. No kind to talk about what Diver Derrick did that day at Tel Eliza.
Oh, all right.
Now, this line here's the railway line, see? It runs from here. That's El Alamein Station, and here, this is Tel Eliza Station. It's July 1942. She's stony country and dusty. You never seen anything like the dust there. And away across there's all desert, sand dunes, you know?
Well, over there's the Met. Well, the Germans push against us. They get on this high ground, and she's a tussle between them and us for this highest point, which is here, see, at Tel El Isa. Yeah. The side that's got that can observe over Alamein and has a show of taking the coast road. Well, first the Stukas come in, and wham, 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 they plaster us, and well, then the German tanks come in, and she's on for 4 hours. There's guns going off all the time, and it's like sheet lightning across the sky. And on top of us, them there R-die Messes, and there's Stukas and Messerschmitts and Hurricanes, and those tanks are coming at us.
Wait till I put me tin hat on, mate. A bloke could get hurt with all this stuff flying around.
Now, look, I'm telling you, she's a real blue. And the Germans push us back for a while, and then we go in. And that's where Sergeant Derrick gets his DCM. It's an all-in stash, guns, planes, tanks, mortars, everything. And a mob of Jerrys come up through the dust and plonk down the machine guns and open up. Well, she looks crook for us. Looks like the Germans are going to consolidate, then push us back. Ah, but what happens?
I've heard half a dozen other versions. May as well hear yours, too.
Derrick gets up, and he's got hand grenades with him like a bag full of apples. And he starts to bowl them at those German machine guns, and woof, 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 up they go. 3 of them he silences, knocks them right out. 3 of them, mind you, blazing away at him at the same time. Then he waves our boys up, and in they go. Right into the Germans, and we push them back and take about 100 prisoners at the same time. Sergeant Derrick's plunging straight into them, and they're throwing up their hands like they're pleased to see him. She was a real blow. No holds barred. And I tell you, Diver Derrick earned his DCM.
I've never doubted that, Ted. You've only got to look at him to see he's a hard doer.
Yeah, I'll say, tough as they come.
And, well, why do they call him Diver?
Huh? Yeah, you got me there, Mick. I reckon Darky would be more like it. But you can never tell how blokes get their nicknames, can you? I remember a bloke in the desert got the nickname of Camp. We was on leave on Alex at the time.
Oh, save it, Ted. Looks like we wanted down along the track. The platoon's forming up. There were 9 tanks, Ted, all told.
That's a squadron. We used to count squadrons by the hundreds in the desert.
Well, for mine, I'd sooner be fighting in the Middle East than here.
I don't think it was any cop, Mick. I'll drum you about that.
I don't think it was any cop. I was just thinking that when you captured something in the Middle East, you had something to show for it. You know, buildings and roads and that kind of thing. Not like here.
Oh, I don't know.
Well, I do. So we take this village called Saddleburg. Would you do a bit of shopping there, spend your leave there? You know what it'll be, don't you? By the time we get there, a few tin huts blasted to pieces, bung huts burnt, the whole area smashed flat. Popsies with bales on or Jippo beer. Only... Ah, come on. Let's get on with it. There it is, Ted. Steeple Tree Hill. At least we got within sight of it.
It's this bamboo. Never had it in the desert. Where are you? Huh? Oh, yeah. Hey, where's that hill? Oh, yeah, I see it. That's the first stage towards Saddleburg.
When we take it. We've been 4 days getting this far, and there she is. Standing up there nearly 3,000 feet high.
A fella will end up walking at a slant. Yeah, these hills get me down. Well, what are we waiting for now?
The 2nd 23rd is coming up on the other side of the hill. I suppose we've got to synchronize our attack and... Listen.
Yeah?
The Matildas are on their way up. Now we'll see whether the Nip wants to stay pat in his foxhole and fight it out. Oh, this'll be a real Christmas present for the sons of heaven. We're moving, Ted. This is the push.
Yeah, it's like old times they're going in behind the tanks. They're a nice job, these Matildas, Mick. Did I tell you my brother's working on it?
Yeah. Cut that, Claude. These tanks are shifting them, flushing them out like plovers. Up on your right, Ted. Sniper. Oh, nice burst.
Ah, it's play compared with the last 4 days. The Matildas have found the Japs right off balance. Hey, look at that foxhole. The tank just blew all the logs off it. I'll give it a burst for good measure.
Oh, there goes another. I'll speed him up. Oh, that's the end of them here, Ted. This is Steeple Tree Hill. Next stop, Saddleburg. Hey, look, mate. There's the 2nd 23rd Battalion coming over the top.
Yeah, but I see what you were saying the other day about not capturing anything when you take a place. In the desert, there would have been a mosque or something at least.
That's what I meant. And I tell you what, I know what you were talking about when you said how good it was to go into action with tanks. It's almost candy from kids.
The Japanese, in their prepared positions along the track to Saddleburg, were taken by surprise when these first Matilda tanks to go into operation in New Guinea smashed through their lines. In the wake of those powerful tanks went the Australian infantry, mopping up blasted foxholes, dealing with snipers and suicide attacks. But tanks weren't the final answer to the fighting problems in New Guinea. When the situation reached a crucial stage, there occurred a misfortune that meant the tanks could go no further. And it was then that the courage and skill, resourcefulness and determination of the Australian fighting men came to the fore again. Faced by the tanks, artillery and bayonets of the Australians closing in on the small village of Saddleburg, the Japanese had closed their ranks, fighting even more desperately, and they dug deeper into strong points to defy the Australians and deny them this important ridge feature. But in the ranks of the advancing Australian infantry was one of the bravest soldiers ever to take the field. Leading his platoon was Sergeant T.C. Derrick, nicknamed Diver by his friends. It could truly be said of him that he knew no fear, and in addition, he was a skilled, experienced fighter who fought with his brains as well as his rifle and bayonet. But as the 2nd 48th Australian Infantry Battalion continued to advance on Saddleburg, there was no suggestion that Sergeant Derrick would be required to do the job the Matilda tanks were now doing so successfully.
How long have we been going now, Ted?
We started on the 17th. What's today? November 22nd. 5 days, Mick. Slow going, isn't it? We cleaned up that show at Eliza in 5 days.
Oh, we're not doing so bad. At least we're on the start of the Saddleburg Hill. I'd say we've got only about another half-mile to go.
And what a half-mile. Bamboo and scrub, Jap foxholes and fortified strong points.
But the tanks are here. No bother about foxholes. All we're doing is mop up and move up. You notice it seems quieter around here. Less Japs.
Oh, I hadn't noticed that. Probably knocking off 1 or 2 here and there. Well, now you come to mention it, it is quieter. I'll tell you just what that means.
A blind Freddy could tell you that. The Japs have withdrawn.
Brilliant. And what have they withdrawn for? I'll tell you. To consolidate in strength. Any time now we can expect them to bore into us.
And what happens to the tanks?
I don't know. But they'll have something up their sleeve. The Germans used to put down a minefield and have their guns ranged onto it so that when the leading tanks went up and the others stopped, the field guns would belt hell out of the other tanks as they turned to get out.
I can't see the Japs mining this whole hill. They'd need more mines than Japan could make. And how could they?
That's all right about that. As this hill gets steeper, these tanks will find the grass and bamboo too slippery, and they'll have to stick to the road. See, they're sticking to the road already. Tanks can't do everything, you know.
Maybe not. But they've done all right up to date.
Oh, I'm not arguing about that. All I'm saying is the Nimp will have some trick to handle these tanks. They've had time to think about it now. Early in the piece, the tank surprised him. Hello, something's up. Our tank's slowing. There. See?
I see, all right. Landslide right across the road.
Might be a landslide. But I'd say it's been helped by some nip jelly.
Will they be able to pass that?
Don't like the look of it myself. Loose stuff like that used to stop them in the desert. They're having a go anyway.
No, they can't get past that, Ted.
Ah, that's a complete block off. And this hill's too steep for any detour. Well, looks like we're on our own from here on.
And that's why the Japs pulled back.
You can bet on that. They'll be sitting up there in that bamboo rubbish, grinning to themselves, waiting till we get up past that landslide without our tanks. Then they'll start to mix it with us. I'm not looking forward to this much, Mick.
Well, me either. Oh, we're moving again. Come on.
You know,
A fella feels naked without those tanks. Sort of like in Martin Place without your pen. Look out! Oh, I thought that grenade was coming straight at us.
short ball, Mick. Fella got a bit anxious. Put his position away. They're going to be hard to shift.
Oh, I missed those tanks. Only about another 600 yards to go. Straight up this hill and we'd have that Saddleburg joint.
600 yards, eh? That's quite a distance when you got to fight for every yard of it. A lot of smoke, mate. Looks to me like we'll be waiting for night before we push on against this lot. The softening up's over. Now, when we go with the rifle, and you'll see the Japs come popping up out of the ground as though all that shelling had only been a spring shower.
Oh, break it down, Ted. Those guns and mortars have been belting into them since dusk. That's 4 hours. It must have done some good.
All in the desert.
All right, mate. I know what they did at Alamein. I know how many guns and all that, but this is different.
All right, we'll soon see how different it is. Go on, we're moving up.
Ah, I see him coming out.
Yeah. Give it to him before that flare dies. This is the time to use the bayonet.
Another 400 yards to go, Ted. And it's taken us 2 days to do the last stretch. At this stage, it'll take us another week to get up to the top of the hill.
If we're lucky. You've seen the strong points we've forced so far. They're deep and well camouflaged, and they're protected from all sides. You won't shift them with shelling. You've got to get them out personally. On this Kenai grass, you could hide a battalion in that and not get a sight of a man. No, she's not like the desert.
She'll be like the desert once our blokes are done with their shelling and mortaring, and by the time we're finished crawling on our knees and bellies onto these foxholes. Home stretch, Ted.
Yeah, I've seen some nags drop dead on the home stretch. Saddleburg is just over that ridge, but first we got to take that ridge.
That's all.
Yeah, that's all. Fucking at us since dawn. We're not a yard closer. Did you see when the blokes from the 11th platoon had to go last time? There were at least 10 strong points firing on them.
Yeah, I saw that. They've certainly got the whole approach well covered. Ah, well, old soldier, how are we going to get past that little lot?
Just cast your eyes across to 11th platoon position. See who's heading the patrol out now?
Yeah, Sergeant Derrick.
Now, that's how we'll do it, mate. You watch this. Out they go.
And the nips are right onto them. They're pinned down.
No, they're making ground. Now they're up and going.
Oh, not far, though. Oh, they're down again. That crossfire is too much. They can't get through it, Ted. See? They're coming back.
Yeah, this is a tough one. Hey, get onto that. I'll bet next month's pay that Derrick wants to go up again. Look at him, pointing that way, and the officer's shaking his head. But Derrick's still pointing. Yeah, he's getting his way. The officer's nodding his head now, but not too enthusiastic about it. Watch this now, mate. This'll be something.
Might even be better than Tell Eliza.
Yeah, there he goes, leading his patrol. Gee, those Jap strong points are pouring it into him. The platoon's down. They're pinned again.
They're lucky to be alive out there.
And what's the Sarge doing? He's worming forward, squirming up that slope.
It's a 45-degree slope there.
I don't know about that, but I'd say it's perpendicular. And those nips are right above it. He's mad. What's he doing?
He's up on his feet and going forward.
And he's bowling those grenades again. But he can't do it here.
He's made a start. He threw one right into that Jap bunker, and she's lost interest in the action.
And he's into the next one. Wham! Up she goes. What did I tell you about this bloke, Mick? What did I tell you? And another. That's about 3 of them he's rubbed out. Now he's slipping back.
Yeah. But only for more grenades. He's up and into them again, Ted. He's uncanny. 2 more bunkers gone, And the others are onto him.
Yeah, but his platoon is keeping the Japs occupied. He's coming back again. Another load of grenades. Give it away, Sarge. You're switching your left. Up he goes again. He's still on his feet. Look, it can't last. That's 8 of them he's shut up now, Mick. 8 of them.
8 down and 2 to go. But he's out of grenades again. Oh, back he comes.
Oh, no. No, he shouldn't do it again.
Nobody's going to stop him, Ted. There he goes again. Bowling him in. Oh, no wonder we beat the Germans and high ties in the Middle East. You had this bloke on your side.
10 of them he's done over, Mick. On his lonesome, mate. 10 of them.
Yeah. And this is where we start moving along a home stretch. Come on. An hour ago, I wouldn't have said we'd be within 150 yards from Saddleburg.
On his lonesome. 10 nip strong points he personally deals with hand grenades. If there's not a VC in that, I'll go he.
Tomorrow, Saddleburg will be ours. Although for mine, you can keep it. Look at it up there. A heap of galvanized iron, too chopped about to do for a fowl coop. I can see only one bit of a hut left standing. Well, I'm going to get some sleep. Saddleburg can keep till tomorrow.
If it had been some of those Jippo joints, you wouldn't have said that.
Saddleburg. Oh, what a mess.
Hey, look.
What?
Sergeant Derrick. He's just hoisted the Australian flag on that bit of tree sticking up over there. So he should too. He took the place single-handed.
By his action, Sergeant Derrick had opened the way for the capture of this important point, and the enemy was pushed, stumbling from exhaustion and disease, away from the ridges and along the coast to dwindle into a retreat of ineffectual stragglers. Behind him, the Japanese left close on 8,000 dead. The Australians, in the actions that destroyed those Japanese, lost 280. For his part, Sergeant Derrick was decorated with the Victoria Cross and later promoted to lieutenant. Lieutenant Derrick, VC, DCM, was a man of great heroism. He died a hero on Borneo just before the war ended. He died rallying his men against Japanese holding a strong position in great strength. He fell facing the enemy.
War Correspondent, recorded by Robert Peach Productions, is presented for your entertainment by the Australian Army's Directorate of Public Relations. The Directorate of Public Relations of the Australian Army presents War Correspondent. Your name is Mike McCann. You're a war correspondent. For the people of this atomic time who know that peace belongs only to the prepared, you tell these stories of the Australian Army on active service. Your name is Mike McCann, war correspondent.
I'm Mike McCann. Time and time again, the Australian soldier has shown great courage and ingenuity in adversity, refusing stubbornly to admit defeat. And that was the case in April and May 1941, when, following the disaster in Greece, Australian, New Zealand and British troops withdrew to continue the fight on the small but strategically important island of Crete. As the Cretan spring was warming into summer, more than 30,000 troops, many without arms or other equipment, disembarked in harbors lying in the shadow of a mountain range that forms a spine rising at times to 8,000 feet along the long and narrow island. 6,500 Australians who had fought in Greece landed, taking ashore with them more than 1,000 battle casualties, but little else. There were few aircraft on Crete, only 9 tanks, very little artillery. Medical supplies were practically non-existent, as was transport. There were few blankets or equipment for digging. Rarely has a force of men been less prepared to face an invasion that was obviously imminent. And as the Australians and Allied troops made their way to Crete and prepared for action, they were harried from the air by German and Italian aircraft holding supremacy. They were to be harried until the Germans overwhelmed the island. But late in April, as the troop transport steamed towards Crete, the Australians were taking a second breath, waiting to fight again.
Hand me my tin hat, Pete. It's my turn.
Yeah, it's your turn, but do you want it just yet? Means I gotta do without a pillow, you know.
Ah, give it to him, Pete. Those bombers are still a couple of miles off, but they'll be able to see Andy's bare skull.
Oh, yeah? Sling off at it now, but how long ago was it that you were talking of drawing a map on me bald head with indelible pencil, eh? How long ago was that before we got in this Thurland castle? You weren't slinging off at me bald head when you thought it might be useful in trying to escape, eh?
Here's the tin hat. We could have drawn a map of the world on that skull. It's big enough.
We might have been better off if we pinched a rowing boat. Wouldn't have had these bombers after us all the time.
And if we'd got a rowing boat, you would have had me rowing it. I know you blokes. Just like with me tin hat. We only got one between us, it's mine, but you blokes decide we got to draw lots for it. So I don't have it for the past 4 raids.
Well, you don't need a tin hat with a skull as thick as yours. And toss us across that blanket and wake me up when the raid's over.
Now you want me blanket. Why don't you blokes hang on to some of your own equipment like I do?
Don't be lousy, Andy. You got a tin hat now. What do you want a blanket for, too? You'll be overdressed.
Here it is. Anything for a bit of peace. And what do you want, Les? Like me rain cape or something?
Now you come to mention it, wouldn't mind borrowing that magazine. I like something to occupy my mind during these raids.
Oh, break it down.
Well, what's the matter with you? Anybody think you paid for the magazine instead of winning it off those nurses up there in the bows? Yeah, what a yarn you must have pitched them. How I held the Germans back single-handed. I was on to you giving them the old malarkey. Suppose you promised them a case of apples from that orchard of yours at Tamarama after the war, eh?
No, I didn't. Here, take the flaming magazine. I'll count the bombs as they fall.
That's the spirit. And don't forget to drum us if we get hit. They're holding. About time, too.
What? We haven't gone far, and I haven't got used to walking on land either. Hey, look, you can still see the ships down there in Suda Bay.
Not far for fruit cockies like you that's used to tramping over those hills at Tamarama.
I'd have thought you'd have been used to it. All that training you had walking around St. Kilda knocking on doors, trying to sell vacuum cleaners to housewives.
Selling them, champ. Not trying.
Oh, why don't you blokes save your breath? That hill in front of us was sired by Mount Everest, and it looks as though we might have to climb it.
That's immoral. If there's a hill anywhere, we'll have to climb it. Don't you wish you were still back in Wollongong pushing a broom for the council?
No, this'll do me. So long as Andy gets a move on with that petrol he's souvenired off the New Zealanders so he can brew up a cuppa.
Won't be long, Pete. It'll be good to have a brew on dry land again. Smells nice up here, doesn't it? Good clean water running through those rocks across there. Nice trees. Yeah, this is a grass spot up here. Be cold at night, though, I reckon.
Cold, eh? Well, it's going to be a tight fit for the 3 of us under that blanket of yours. We better draw lots for the middle.
You men hear me? Come a little closer if you can't, but keep under cover.
As you all know, we anticipate a German attempt to take the island.
Major's been reading Hitler's mail.
We've had a visit from General Wavell, and he's appointed Major General Freiberg to command the defense of Crete. General Wavell's ordered that the troops on the island, now numbering about 35,000, and another 4,000 Cypriots and Palestinians, will defend Crete against any enemy attempt to land. From intelligence reports, we anticipate an air invasion on a large scale, together with attacks by sea.
Didn't expect the Germans to walk
So
across.
we must prepare for German parachute troops. And that means we have to be prepared for independent actions in the event of units being isolated by paratroopers. That means we'll have to spread our forces. The 2nd 4th Battalion will fight in the Heraklion sector. Brigadier Vasey will have headquarters at Retimo with the 2nd 8th Battalion in his area. And the 2nd Field Regiment, which has no guns, will be armed as infantry. And with elements of other units, including some Greek battalions, will defend the Suda Bay area.
That's us.
Now, that's the picture. I know you chaps are living under tough conditions with clothing and equipment in short supply and rations a bit light on. However, we can make out by supplementing our rations with eggs, nuts, oranges and bread from locals.
And a good old Cretan plonk.
So keep on your toes. For the time being, Jerry appears to be concentrating on our shipping. No doubt he wants to stop us reinforcing Crete before he can launch his invasion attempt. I don't think we need reinforcements. If we all keep fit, I believe we can handle all the troops Jerry can put on this island from the air. And I believe our comrades of the Royal Navy will frustrate any attempt he makes to invade us by the sea.
The dive bombers are giving those ships some curry down there in Suda Bay.
Yeah, I'm glad it's them down there copping it and not me. Oh, this country life suits me. Just lying here in the shade, that grandstand view of the fireworks. Oh, if only we had some tucker to chew on. You didn't bring back much last night, Andy.
I told you, I followed that bloke from the field ambulance that I've seen go out foraging every night. I followed him right down the side of the hill and into the village and up to the shop. But he was only after medical supplies for dressings. Couldn't eat that, could we?
The way I'm feeling, I could eat a cotton wool sandwich with iodine for a filling.
Well, why don't you take a turn at scrounging?
You heard the Major? I've got to conserve me strength for the Germans. You know, that ship down there reminds me of Luna Park back in St Kilda.
That's the Lossy bank. Nothing funny about her. She's loaded up with 2,000 blokes. Hospital blokes and patients headed for Alex.
I'm not saying there's anything funny about her. I just said she reminded me of Luna Park back in St Kilda. She's been like a merry-go-round for the last 2 hours, circling round and round the harbour while the dive bombers have been laying it on.
Well, something wrong with her. Rudder broken or an engine broken down or something.
That's obvious. Now, I bet the blokes aboard her are sweating it out. Hello, we've broken the jinx. She's straightened up, heading for Alex. You know, I don't like to see all those ships heading for Alex. 40 of them went out the other day. And when they've all gone, the bombers and fighters will start in on us. You see if I'm not right.
This is a bright idea of yours, Les, to come down to this British hospital.
We need boots, don't we? Blokes die, don't they? They don't need their boots anymore. Can I help it if the Germans decide to attack the hospital?
I never did like the idea of wearing boots off a dead man. It could put the jinx on us.
I'd rather have the jinx than any more of these blisters. Ah, my feet have had walking over these rocks. I'm no mountain goat.
No comment.
Get out! Flat!
No level stuff. Don't these mugs know this is a hospital?
Well, those two officers up there didn't move quick enough. They stopped one.
Let's give them a hand.
I don't need any help. Not now. Pete, you know something?
I know we're in a sticky spot.
I'm thinking it's going to get more sticky. How long now that the Germans have been plastering us?
What's today? May the 20th. 2 or 3 days they've been over us all the time.
The rat kites pulled out yesterday.
What was left of them?
Sure. Ship's gone, our fighters gone, and the Germans have been concentrating on our anti-aircraft guns. Now they've switched, having a go at everything and anything. You know what that means?
I know what it means. It means we get done over unless we get under cover quick and lively.
Oh, aren't you awake up yet? Remember what the Major told us? Paratroops. Hey, you could be right. Could be.
I'll bet on it.
It all adds up, doesn't it? We know they're going to come, and right now.
If you're right, it's no time for talking. Let's get back to the unit. Come on.
Thought that one was going to hem-stitch me up the spine.
Come on. There's more open ground to cover before we get among the trees. We'll make a dash for it. Now.
They must have an aircraft for every man we have on the islands. They're swarming.
Keep under cover of these trees. There's thousands of them.
And they're not bombers. But that big swarm coming in low. Thousands of them.
That's not confetti they're dropping.
Paratroopers.
Come on. We'd better get back to the unit. Quick, smart.
The first phase of the attack on Crete consisted of fierce and indiscriminate German air attacks. The second phase opened on May 20th, when air attacks were stepped up to a savage intensity with dive bombers coming over in waves, attacking troop positions. Then, paratroopers were dropped. Then came the troop-carrying planes and aircraft. Every man who could be spared was armed to meet the invaders. And during the next 2 days, bitter fighting raged as thousands of German parachutists landed in the strategic centers of the northern part of Crete. And troop-carrying gliders landed in hundreds, bringing reinforcements. The invaders died in thousands. Attempts to land reinforcements for the Allied defenders were partially successful, but the cost in shipping was great as the enemy held the sky. Undeterred, however, the Australians on Crete fought on, inflicting terrible punishment on the Germans, not thinking of their plight should the island fall.
You see what I see, Liz?
Yeah, 5 of them. I'll give them a burst before they get clear of their parachutes.
Hold it, Liz. Let them get clear and see which way they move.
Ah, don't be, Uncle Willie.
Just hold it. See? They're coming this way.
Sure they are. And I'm going to give them a burst before they get close enough to toss a grenade among us. 5 of them to 3 of us, Andy.
That's right. About our size, too. See those boots they're wearing?
I'm on to you. Okay, hold it, Liz. Andy wants his boots off a live one. Okay, let's take them. Hey, you!
They try to run, Pete. Anyway, we've got 3 of them with their hands up.
And their boots off in a second. Come on, you Nazi supermen! Off with your boots!
Oh, they can't understand English, Andy.
I can understand a Bren, though, Liz. They seem to be catching on. Not bad-looking boots, either.
They'll do till we get some more. And we may as well have those elastic bandages off their ankles, too. The medical boys are short of bandages.
Hear that, Pete?
Of course Pete can hear it, Liz. You need to be deaf not to. You want to wake a bloke up for now? I thought we'd be able to get some sleep after we acquired a couple of blankets apiece.
Change the needle, Andy. I'm talking to Pete. You hear that?
Yeah, firing off the coast.
The Navy.
Friendly with the fishing fleet. Somebody's copying it out there tonight.
Better be the Germans. If we get any more Nazis on this island, we'll find ourselves shoved off.
Won't be any more on here tonight. Listen, the coastal guns are getting in for their chop. Now roll over and go to sleep. Those Germans out there have enough to occupy their minds. No need for us to worry about them. What do you say, Andy?
Huh? What's that?
Pete was asking you about the war, pal. The WAR. There's one on, you know. What were you thinking about? The price of apples?
No, I was just wondering whether we'd have to dig up a new Cretan family. That family up in the cave past those pines is running a bit low on potatoes and milk. I was just thinking about the other family in the cave above the 5 Mile pig.
That's me boy, Andy. You let us 2 blokes worry about the war, and you keep on working out where we're going to get our extra rations from.
I don't get it. Does anyone know where we are? How long have we been cut off from the unit now? 2 days? I don't know. Lost track of time. Lost track of everything.
Don't look at me. I can't help you. All I know is there are Germans wherever you look.
There's no front anymore.
What do you want a front for? There's plenty of Germans to have a crack at you.
My hero. Wonderful sentiments, Andy. Except there's a small thing like ammunition that we find handy now and then. Sure, I know we can pick up supplies that the Germans drop. Food, medical stuff and such like. But their ammo doesn't fit our guns, Andy. Any more bright ideas?
Well, I don't know whether it's a bright idea or not, but the way I work it out, the unit would have withdrawn up the hills, and we should join them there.
Sure. Except for a couple of thousand Germans between them and us.
That's what I was coming to. The way things are, we're flummoxed. I reckon nobody knows where the front is. Odds are there isn't a front at all. So the way I work it out, we may as well be somewhere else as here. Get me?
No. Do you, Pete?
No, I don't get you, Andy.
Well, it seems clear enough to me. We're cut off. Or the Germans cut off. Maybe the Germans are trying to form a front so that they'd be happy enough to let us get out of here. You know, so that they can tidy up the map a bit. Get me now?
No.
I'm further off than ever.
Look, the best way to explain it is like this. Now grab your rifles and follow me. See those Germans across there? They're busy digging in. So we'll walk across this way a bit. No, don't fire at them. They're busy. Look. There's a break. Now, she's all quiet here. You know why?
I'm too busy keeping my fingers crossed to wonder about anything.
Those are Australians across there, stretcher bearers picking up wounded. See, the Germans are doing the same. Looks like we've walked in on a bit of a local truce. Come on, we'll keep going while the going's good.
So great was the confusion in the fighting on Crete that one side didn't know where the other was. And taking advantage of those conditions, stragglers rejoined their units and wounded were carried to dressing points. However, the position was critical for the defenders. And on May the 26th, General Freiberg signaled to Middle East headquarters, "In my opinion, the limit of endurance has been reached by troops under my command here at Suda Bay." And with casualties increasing and more Germans landing from the air, it was decided that Allied troops would be withdrawn from Crete by sea. That meant a difficult march across that strong, steep, and rugged mountain ridge to the embarkation point. The New Zealanders and the 19th Australian Brigade had the task of fighting the rearguard action.
34 miles. That's how far it is across to where the boats will come in.
34 perpendicular miles. Goat track, that's all it is. Yeah, it's going to be a choice do, this is.
One thing, we haven't been encircled like a lot of the fellas have at Retimo. We're still free.
The jokers up ahead don't get a move on. It won't be long before the Germans are onto us.
Sick and wounded blokes ahead, Les. They can't hurry. Our job is to hold the Germans back till the boys get clear.
How are we going to hold those Germans back?
Needn't worry about them. Have a look back down the track. See what I see?
Germans there, Pete. Not many, though. Patrol by the looks of it. Our boys are spreading out, taking cover. I suppose we'd better too.
Yeah. Well, here we go again. I'll take the two to the left.
The three on the right for me.
And that leaves only one bloke in the center for me. Oh, well, here goes. And that's that.
Until the next lot.
That's right, until the next lot. Not a bad posse here. May as well stay, eh? Good place to watch the slopes from, and these rocks hide us from the aircraft.
How long's it going to stay good, though?
Oh, what's your worry, Les? We've got 7 days' rations, and we've got Andy to scrounge some more when that runs out. Relax. It's going to take a while to embark all the fellas on this island.
That's where they went off from. Down there.
How many did they get off? Did that officer say, Andy?
A good lot. You reckon they only got about 700 away the first night, but the Germans sunk a destroyer and damaged a couple of cruisers. They got 6,000 away the second night. Then destroyers got about 4,000 off on the third night. Then she was finished. That was the last night. Marfeach.
So here we are again. Left like shags on a rock.
Somebody had to take the rear guard, and they had to get the wounded off. Anyway, we're not Robinson Crusoes. Plenty more Aussies, Kiwis, and British left behind us.
And Germans.
Yeah, that's right. That time we started back into the hills. Choose ourselves a nice cave.
And settle down for the duration.
No, just long enough to have a look at the situation. Come on, we'll have to do some real climbing now.
Seems funny just to be sitting here.
Oh, I don't mind it, Les. Anyway, these blokes have given us a cave. They're keeping us in tucker.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Look at Andy.
Hmm?
You know, I've got a hunch. I reckon the reason Andy gets on so well with these locals is that they admire his bald head. Probably means something in Crete. Well, bald heads and beards seem to be the fashion. And Andy's got a bald head to beat all bald heads. Yeah, the Germans are keeping up that air traffic. Hasn't stopped in the week we've been here.
Still flying wounded across to Greece, Les. That's the info we got from below. They're flying their own and our wounded out. But it's not much use looking down that side of the hill. Look down this other side. That's where you should be watching.
Yeah. Nothing but sea and rocks.
And among those rocks...
What are you getting at, Andy?
Oh, look for yourself.
I see it. A boat. A boat! How'd you get onto that, you old apple picker?
Well, it isn't a boat, really. It's a landing barge. This old bloke and his sons went down last night and paddled it around from where they found it washed up further along the island a few days ago. It's a gift. To us.
Wow! Papa! Papa! Muchy thank you!
Relax, Les. They'll be glad to get rid of us. You've been eating them out of house and home.
Out of cave and home, you mean? Oh, what beauts they are! I'll send them a vacuum cleaner for naught when I get home.
Yeah, but we got to get to Egypt first. And they reckon we should go tonight. No move. Just head straight that way.
We can't do it, Andy. We've got no indelible pencil. We can't draw the map on that bald skull of yours. We'd get lost.
Not this time, mate. You can paint the Union Jack on my head for identification purposes if you like, but so far as navigation goes, the codgers reckon the currents will take us into the Egyptian coast. We'll use a blanket for a sail. They've got no oars. And as soon as the sun goes down, we'll shove off.
Like many other small groups of Australians, these men from the 6th Division made their way back to friendly land in a small craft. Others continued to hide in the hills, where they'd been befriended and succored by Cretans, while the majority of the rearguard force had no alternative but to capitulate when it became clear that no more evacuation was possible. And so the curtain was rung down on an heroic but tragic episode in the early days of the war. 12,000 Allied troops were taken prisoner on Crete, including more than 3,000 Australians. But the Germans paid a heavy penalty. In the action on Crete, close on 3,000 Germans were wounded and 4,000 Germans died.
War Correspondent, recorded by Robert Peach Productions, is presented for your entertainment by the Australian Army's Directorate of Public Relations. The Directorate of Public Relations of the Australian Army presents War Correspondent. Your name is Mike McCann. You're a war correspondent. For the people of this atomic time who know that peace belongs only to the prepared, you tell these stories of the Australian Army on active service. Your name is Mike McCann, war correspondent.
I'm Mike McCann. The movement of war sometimes resembles the rhythm of the tide. There's advance, followed by withdrawal, a movement back and a surging forward. In World War II, the classic example of that movement was the Allied withdrawal through Dunkirk and the subsequent surging back to Europe across the beaches of Normandy. But in the Southwest Pacific, there was no such dramatically defined movement. The emphasis was on the advance towards Tokyo. But there were withdrawals, minor withdrawals, mainly dictated by the Allied policy to bypass Japanese-held islands, so the enemy forces there would wither on the vine. And one such withdrawal was from Japanese-occupied Timor. For 13 months, Australian independent companies, consisting of a small force of Australian soldiers trained in commando-type fighting, had occupied the attention of up to 30,000 Japanese troops, until the tide of war moved past Timor. And then it was decided to withdraw from the island and let the enemy idle uselessly in the backwater. But withdrawal is rarely a simple matter of inexpensive action. And on Timor, the Japanese had what should have been an overwhelming superiority in numbers. The enemy had coastal air patrols. In short, the Japanese could be expected to observe any movement towards an embarkation point on the coast, and to move troops to that point in sufficient strength to decimate the withdrawing Australians. But that didn't happen. During their time of fighting on Timor, the Australian soldiers of the independent companies provided a textbook model of how such companies should function. In withdrawal, their efficiency was equally evident on that January day in 1943, when the enemy was pressing closer.
You'll soon have to get that beard off, Sergeant.
With no regrets at all, sir. I want to sink back into a barber's chair as soon as we get to Darwin and say, shave and haircut with all the trimmings.
Well, that's the way I plan it, too. But we've got to get to Darwin first, eh? How's everything shaping?
Still smooth, sir.
Let's see the latest reports. Yes, the platoons are coming back nicely. Rear parties holding back the enemy. Natives given messages to pass on to any Australians they might see in the area after we withdraw. The natives know by now that we're pulling out, Sergeant. It's not easy to leave them behind. Not easy at all. Well, that's the way it's to be. So far, so good, Sergeant. Looks as though we might get away with it.
That's the way it's shaping, sir. I've got my fingers crossed, though. It'd be a slap in the eye for the mighty Nippon if we slip out without him knowing it.
When, Sergeant? Not if.
That's right, sir. We've been on top of him so far. No reason why we shouldn't trump him in the last hand.
No. Home stretch. But tomorrow will be the toughest stretch. We've got the rivers to cross. Swamp in the open country. Just a single track across grassland country. Ideal for Jap aerial observation. However, that's for tomorrow.
Message just in from Darwin, sir.
Thanks. Transmission still clear?
Clear and strong, sir.
From Land Headquarters, Melbourne, eh?
Bad news, Major?
Mixed bag, Sergeant. Land Headquarters require a lieutenant and 12 other ranks to stay behind. Observe and report only. No offensive action. And the party not to include Major B.J. Callanan. My idea and someone else to carry it out. Well, not to reason why. Thanks, Sig. Sergeant, we'd better set out an instruction, and at the same time, send a message to the platoons asking for volunteers to stay behind.
So, Major B.J. Callanan, DSO, MC, later promoted to Colonel, a senior officer with the 1st Independent Company to fight in Timor, was ordered to ask for volunteers, while the remainder of the force approached the beach rendezvous with the Royal Australian Navy. At the same time, the weather withdrew its support from the evacuation, and heavy rain began falling, so that on the last stage of the approach to the beach, rivers flooded, and the winding track became a slippery, boggy morass.
The Japs come on us now. They'll take me for a native.
Not with that beard, they won't.
They won't be able to see that for mud either if I slip again. Last time I went in up to me armpits. This is the soupiest piece of swamp I've ever had to go through.
And don't forget you've got to come back through it, too. Didn't they ever tell you not to volunteer in the army?
Sure. But I couldn't let you stay here without me to keep you out of strife. Give us a hand, will you? I can't get a grip on these mangrove roots.
So you volunteered to stay behind to look after me. Well, starting right now,
I've got hold of one of the carrier boys behind me. He's up to his chin. If he goes down any further, the only way we'll be able to locate him is by the load on the top of his head.
Okay, mate. Here's my hand. Hang on to it, and I'll try and climb up this mangrove. Made it. Hold on to my belt now while I get a fresh grip.
Listen, Phil.
I can't do two things at once.
Jap recce, Phil.
Yeah, wasting his time. If he could see through this rain, he certainly wouldn't be able to see through the mud. Come on, or we'll miss seeing the others off.
That Jap wasn't over the beach.
What if he was, Ron? There'd be no sign yet of any evacuation. Our fellas will all lie in the scrub till nightfall. And the tide comes right up to the scrub line. No, the Japs don't know this is on. And they won't know until the fellas have gone.
And we're left.
That's the plot.
Well, I hope the plot thickens and the mud doesn't.
How are we coming along, Sergeant? I've still got my fingers crossed, sir. Looks like we're on schedule. It's just on 5, and the boys are still coming in from the east.
Good. Make sure the lads keep under cover until dusk. I haven't seen a check yet of equipment.
Oh, it's a slow job, Major, with all the boys spread out through the scrub and with their equipment under cover. But it looks like the carriers are getting it in all right.
They're bringing the parachutes recovered from supply drops?
Yes, sir, they're coming in. The native carriers are doing the usual good job. Sort of pity to be leaving them behind, sir.
Yes, Sergeant, it is. Well, I had a report the radio was up. Communications established with Australia, Sergeant?
Contact established, sir.
Good. Well, Sergeant, looks like it, eh?
I'd say so, sir. We've got the bonfires built to pass the recognition signals to the Navy, and each platoon has its own area and is responsible for taking off its own stores. Should go like clockwork, sir.
Yes, hope so. The Portuguese women and children first, then the sick and wounded, the troops, then force headquarters, and finally myself. Except for the volunteers to stay behind, of course.
Sea's getting up a bit, sir.
Yes, and it'll soon be dark. A couple of things I'll have to do before it gets dark, Sergeant. May as well get them over with while we're waiting. Oh, message for me, Sikh?
Oh, only the hour schedule report from Darwin, sir. Proceeding according to plan. Rendezvous time remains unaltered at midnight. Signal fire still to be lit by us as arranged, a half hour before rendezvous time.
Thanks. Well, now I'll do what I have to do. You chaps have a rest. There'll be plenty of work later.
Right you are, Major.
The Major seems a bit upset, Sarge.
Well, it's been a pretty tough time. I reckon he's going to say goodbye to his native lad. It's hard to leave behind someone who's been so loyal.
Yeah, that's right. But we're taking off all we can. And there's some of our blokes staying behind.
A dozen. They're going to be busy looking after themselves when the main force goes. Mighty busy. Well, standing around gossiping won't get the war won. You get your equipment ready for quick dismantling and transport down to the boats.
23:30 hours, Sergeant. Tell them to light up.
Right, sir.
Light up, boys.
There they go, sir. Real bonfires. They ought to see them in Darwin.
Let's hope the Japanese don't see them.
Oh, they're too far back behind the swamp, sir. No, they're too busy looting native villages to be snooping along the coast tonight. We can keep these home fires burning all night if we want to.
Home fires, eh? Home fires for the lads staying behind. Be no fires over there in Aussie, mid-January. A few bushfires, maybe. Well, Sergeant, any time now, eh?
Yes, sir. Dead on midnight.
There it is. Flash the answer. Good. Now reply to them again. Good. All right. Let's get cracking. Not exactly a picnic, eh, Sergeant?
No, sir. These flat-bottomed plywood boats capsize too easily. They're a real headache in this surf. We've still got close to 200 of the boys on the beach with their arms and equipment.
Major?
Now, looks like the signaller is looking for you.
Here we are, Sig.
Message from the destroyer, sir. No more boats can be sent, and the naval shore party is to return to their ship.
So, that means all the planning is to be wasted. All right, Sergeant. Get the men to stack their arms and equipment in the scrub. We won't be able to carry those whichever way we get out to the ship. Looks like we'll have to wait for the tide to ease.
Right, sir. I'll tell the boys.
The tide's eased now. Yes, it's eased all right. Get the men on their toes, Sergeant. The Arunda will have another go now.
You're right, sir. There's a motorboat out beyond the surf, towing a line of boats. They're making it, sir.
Right. Let's get these men off the beach. What's the count now, Sergeant?
80 still on the beach, sir.
And the destroyer can't get the boats in again, eh? All right. We'll do as they suggest and see if we can swim the men out past the breakers. And how they're going to be picked up in this choppy sea, in this pitch darkness, I don't know. Well, let's get underway. Time's a-wasting. Well, Sergeant?
Not much luck, sir. A few good swimmers made it out, but the others had to come back in.
Very well. There's only one thing left to do. That is to get a couple of the boats in, load them to the hilt, and let the lads who are staying behind see if they can get us through the surf. Now, Lieutenant Flood is in charge of the volunteer party, Sergeant. Unless we're going to stay with him, we've got to make it this time. We're the last off.
Here come a couple of boats through the surf, Major. Now or never, eh? Oh, we made it, sir.
Yes, thanks to the volunteer party.
Next stop, Darwin, eh?
And there goes Timor. 13 months of it. Well, better get along and meet Commander Morrow now. He'll have me in his quarters in this regard. Dirty shirt and shorts, no boots or socks, hat or equipment, and
So, at 30 knots, HMAS Arunta steered straight for Darwin, with only an hour before dawn and the Japanese aircraft. The men withdrawn from Timor bunked down for the 16 hours, almost too weary to eat, almost too excited at the prospect of returning to Australia to sleep. And as the destroyer headed like an arrow for home, the 12 men who had volunteered to remain behind to observe the enemy on Timor heard the sounds of the destroyer fade. They left the surf and tramped back through the scrub, picking up any signs that might have been left to indicate to the Japanese that a withdrawal had taken place. But the natives, who had long accompanied the main force of Australians, knew their friends had gone. And so they turned to searching the equipment left behind in the scrub, turning it over for valuables, seeking arms, salvaging what they could before dawn came. And with the dawn, the Japanese.
Hey, Phil. Bring that box over here, will you?
What was that, Phil? Those natives settling an argument over who'll get what. Oh, this beach is certainly a mess. The Japs must wake up to what went on here as soon as they get their aircraft up.
Which is any time now. It's after midday. We've been flat out cleaning up since the main force left.
And there's plenty more to do.
I'm not blind, mate. And when we've cleaned this beach up, we've still got to go back through that swamp. Blood must be soft in the scone to volunteer for this caper. Wonder what the other blokes will be doing now. Probably lying back in the destroyer's wardroom soaking rum and cocoa made with milk.
Probably sick as dogs. Come on. There's plenty more stuff to be picked up. Then we've got to hike into our new campsite and rig up the wireless to contact Darwin. We could be busy for a day or two.
Or a week or two.
Could be. But there's one thing certain. We're going to be busy the rest of today if we're going to stop the Japs finding out that the main force is gone. Give us a hand with this junk over here.
Make yourselves comfortable, lads. We'll have a cuppa in a moment. Well, light up if you want to.
Thanks.
Well, first of all, thanks for that cleaning up job on the beach. It was hardjacker, and the hike back through the swamp was no picnic either. But we should be fairly comfortable here. This site should suit us all right. It was a coffee plantation before the Japs came to Timor. Fortunately, the Japanese have not penetrated to this area yet, so the natives are friendly, and we want to keep them that way. So much for that. Now, we've been in touch with Darwin over our radio, and it looks as though we're going to have a pretty quiet time, fighting unless attacked. Yes, well, that should make sense. A dozen of us, plus a couple of stragglers we can expect to join us against the Japs. That makes the odds against us at about 2,000 to 1, which I'd say, in the terms of the punter, wouldn't give us the bolter's chance. So our role is to observe and report on Japanese activities and to send back reports on ship and aircraft movements. Now, our first job is to get ourselves organized for supplies and see if we can organize the natives to help us, and at the same time, see if we can get them to work for us and keep us hidden from the Japs. Incidentally, our force will be known as S-Force.
S for silly, I'd say.
S for small. That's my guess.
Could be both. Small and silly.
Cheer up. The other bloke's got back to Aussie safely. There's hope for us yet.
Oh, so there we are. We'll dig in here and get ourselves organized, then get down to work. As you all know, there'll be plenty to do, particularly if the Japanese get to hear that the others have gone and there's only a handful of us left here.
Unfortunately, it appeared the Japanese reconnaissance aircraft picked up traces of the evacuation from the beach, and the enemy made a fairly correct reading of the situation. So it wasn't long before the Japanese sent a strong force penetrating into the area where the Australians were organizing for their role. There started to flow back to S-Force headquarters rumors and reports of increasing Japanese patrol activity, closing in towards the coffee plantation area where they had established their base.
Nothing on the air, Phil?
No. All quiet on the ether, Ron.
Wish it was as quiet on the home front. All the signs are the Japs are awake to us. The natives keep telling us they're heading this way.
Doesn't mean they know we're here.
The way I see it, it does. The Japs haven't bothered about this area before. Why should they now? Except they know that there are Australians here. And a pretty small force of Australians, too. If they thought the main force was still here, they'd be coming a lot more cautiously. A lot more cautiously.
You send shivers down my spine. Why not wait till the Japs get really close to us before you start fighting?
That close enough?
Yes, the Japs.
What do you think it is? The Yankee Marines? Will I get the ponies?
Yes, Ron. It might be a false alarm, but we'd better get this wireless equipment packed. Sounds like the Japs might be onto us.
As I was just saying.
As you were just saying. Well then, hold still. Now, Jack, you get up on that pony and get up that ridge with this equipment. And don't lose those cipher bags. Off you go. Hope Jack can handle that pony.
I hope so, too. He's got those bad legs, Phil. If he gets thrown, he's never going to be able to catch that pony again. Get down! Blame him! Uh-huh. There goes our radio gear. You can say goodbye to that.
And Jack's been thrown. He's down. He can hardly hobble. I can't catch the pony.
Goodbye to the ciphers, too. Come on, Phil, let's get out of this. The radio and ciphers have gone, but we don't want to go with them. You think that'll work, Phil?
Doesn't look too smart, but it's the best we can do. The transmitting key is made out of bamboo, and we've built up the rest of the set with what we could find. Oh, we'll soon see. Here goes. We've contacted Darwin, sir.
Good, good. First class.
They hear us loud and clear, sir.
That's something. Good to be in touch with Australia again. We should be able to get down to work soon. This site up here on the ridge gives us a good vantage point.
Just picked up an alarm, sir, from our observation post overlooking the village. Large Japanese patrol moving along a track that runs close to our position here, sir.
How close?
Less than half a mile, sir.
All right. We'll send a patrol out to keep an eye on them. Meanwhile, we may as well be ready here.
Right, sir. Round up the ponies, will you, Ron? What's that?
A shot. Looks like one of the blokes fired a shot by accident. That'll draw the crabs. There it is. That's pulled the plug out.
Yes. No hope of the Japs going past us now. We better get going. Oh, and right away. They're onto us with mortars. Come on, Ron. Get up there, pony. Oh, take it easy there, old girl. You're all right. A Jap can't see. Haven't you read that they're all blind? Easy now, girl. Take it quiet.
Where are we heading for, Phil?
Towards the river. Are the boys holding the Japs up?
Only just. I saw a big bunch of Japs come up over the rise. One of them was holding a Jap flag, but Bully Hayes gave the flag bearer a burst, and they all vanished back over the ridge. But they're onto us. Too many of them for us, Phil. We just have to keep going.
As long as these bullets only keep coming close, I can control this thing. But if she gets hit... Look, take it easy now, old lady. We're close to the river now, and you'll be safe. You better be. We can't afford to lose this wireless. Well, here we are now. Oh, she's hit, Ron. The horse is hit, and there she goes down into the river.
And the radio. Goodbye, Australia.
The current's taken her right away.
Come on, mate. No good breathing over a pony. We've got to get out of here, and quick. If we get cut off now, we'll cop what that pony got. Come on.
They're still looking for us, Ron.
Yeah. They're fair dinkum. How long have we been on the run? 4 days?
About that.
And 1 meal a day. If you could call it a meal. Bit of sago palm and a slice of buffalo hide. That Jap plane gone yet?
Yeah. Let's make a dash across this clearing. Then we've only got to get up that ridge.
Yeah. Only. If those natives have ever been having us on, we're not going to be able to keep on much longer.
Well, maybe. But let's see if there are Australians there. You ready to move? Okay. Come on. They'll be there. They've got to be. I reckon I've never been so glad to see anybody as those Z Special Force blokes.
I'll say. It's good to be with mates again. But we've still got to get off.
A month and a day since we were here last, Ron.
Yep. And now it's our turn. Sort of feels sort of crook about getting out, eh? No show if we stayed, though, Phil. The Japs are right onto us. Cut us off from food.
Yes. They got us off balance and kept us running.
The blokes couldn't have stood it much longer. How's the time?
Any time now, Ron. It's just on dusk.
You reckon that Yank submarine has sighted that white rag we hung on the scrub?
Yes, but he's not going to surface until after dusk. He's probably had a good look at us through his periscope. Listen. The Hudsons. Dead on time. See 'em? 5 of the little buttes. Here they come.
Hell's bells, but they're low.
Don't want the Japs getting onto us, do you? Look, they've dropped the dinghies. Come on, let's pick 'em up. Here's one. The valve is busted on this one. We won't be paddling out to any submarine on this.
Nor on this one. Let's get the others. Here's one that's okey-doke.
Oh, it's the only one. 1 out of 5. Some of us can get out to the sub anyway. Well, let's take it back to the boys.
Here come the boys now, and running. And look out there, the sub. It's surfacing.
We're the last, aren't we, Ron?
Yep, the last. I hope we're welcome aboard this sub. I don't like the way those Yanks are standing up there with those Tommy guns trained on us.
Better than looking at a Jap woodpecker.
Yeah, that's the truth. Well, so long, Timor. I reckon those Japs won't know what to do with themselves now that all the Aussies are gone.
Down into the submarine, the United States submarine Gudgeon, veteran of many attacks on the enemy, went the last Australians off Timor. And then the submarine submerged. The American sailors handed over dry clothing and gave up their bunks to these last commandos from Timor. And for 8 days, while the USS Gudgeon headed for Fremantle, the emaciated and exhausted Australians fed on tinned chicken, ice cream, and coffee, food they'd dreamed of for months, while they kept a mighty Japanese force occupied in a fantastic game of hide and seek. Theirs was a withdrawal at the end of a vital job well done.
War Correspondent, recorded by Robert Peach Productions, is presented for your entertainment by the Australian Army's Directorate of Public Relations.